So let's give Rich a round of applause. Great to be here. The food was excellent. Whoever ordered that, wow. Wasn't me actually, it was Caitlin. Let's give Caitlin a round of applause. A lot goes into this place, guys. It's not just me. There's all kinds of Caitlin Fair helped me run it. Everybody volunteers. If you are looking to volunteer, you want to get more involved in the club, talk to Farah. We definitely appreciate our volunteers. And let's please give them a round of applause also. We got people volunteering to check in, running the sound booth back there, helping us with food, cleanup, all of it. This organization is pretty much member-driven and volunteer-driven, so we really appreciate the help if you can help us out. Okay, so California state of mind. Now, where did I come up with this? So, I've been around for a little while. I've been flipping for about 7 years now. I've been in real estate. I've done stuff out of state, and when I started doing mindset focus group this year, these coming up with topics about mindset every month is actually a little tougher than I was expecting. Because I covered so much the first time that I was like, oh crap, I should have done a little bit less and then spread it out over the next year. So I started thinking about the mindset of people talking they can't wait to get out of California, or they things are too expensive here, and all that stuff. And so I really realized that it really comes down to mindset. Okay, does anybody remember where wealth starts from last time?
In the mind.
In the mind, right? So Gary Johnson likes to say that all the time. Wealth starts in the mind. Okay, so if you want to be wealthy, you got to start with the mindset. Okay, and we're going to kind of go through this a little bit, but there is no other wealthier place than California, at least here in the U.S. So we're going to talk about a lot of these kind of demographics and all kinds of stuff. So moving forward. So my background is a couple pictures of my life, I guess there. Like I said, I've been wholesaling and flipping since 2017. I've done over 100 deals, either wholesalers or flips, mostly up in the mountains. I think 30 or 40 of them up in the mountains. I lost track after 20. They all started blending together. I've been a housing provider since 2020. I bought my first house, a duplex. I lived in the basement, rented out the top unit, covered all bills. Then about another one a year later, then about 2 more the next year, and then about 2 this year, in the last 6 months. So, cascading pretty quickly. Right now I have all long-term rentals. I did dabble in short-term rental and mid-term rental for a little bit, but I decided I was too busy and turned them over to long-terms. As far as my professional education background, I used to be a territory manager for James Hardy. Anybody know what Hardy Backer is? Hardy. For the rest of you that don't know it, if you're trying to get into rehabs, it's the stuff you put on the floor before you put tile down. Okay, you don't want to put tile on wood or drywall or anything like that. Okay, to make a cement board for it. That cement board that Hardy made used to be called Hardy Backer. Okay, so at one point I had a territory all the way from South Santa Barbara all the way to Beaumont. And then I had territory from Arizona all the way to El Paso, and when I started sending me out to El Paso, that's when I did my thing. So everybody's like, El Paso, sorry. I was from there, I'm sorry. I also was a recruiting manager for various tech companies, all the people that built your phones, and I used to put those guys in senior level positions, basically developing apps and hardware and all the stuff that, take pretty for granted. But a lot of people work way smarter than me, so make all those things tick. So I went to Arizona State, got my bachelor's degree. I don't know when year I graduated, 2010, something like that. And then I learned how to do all these lights and sound and all that stuff. I was a stage tech in high school. The high school I went to had a really badass theater, actually. And they used to rent it out for dance recitals and different kinds of stuff. So it came in handy when we built this place, because what it would have cost for all these lights, the membership would be far more than $50. Okay, but I know how to do it, so I did it. Current projects right now, there's some pictures of them. Mobile homes wise, I'm doing 7 rehabs right now in one park in Paris, all at the same time. We're doing that within a 10-week goal. Okay, we're in week 2, or about 2 weeks ahead of schedule, so we might do it in 8. We'll see. I'm actually parking the ferry right there. And Danny Manny. There it is. And one other member who's not in the room, and then Caitlin is my big time right hand on all those projects also. So I also am starting one rehab in Crestline on a mobile home. It's getting trashed out right now by another club member actually. And as far as single family houses go, I have one listed for sale in Crestline that we kind of did like a quarter flip on. It had some issues with it. We fixed some of them, made it less scary for an investor, and put it back on the market for like $50,000 more than we bought it for. So actually like $75,000 more than we bought it for. So we'll see. We already got offers, like 3 or 4 offers on that one. So should be sold here pretty quick. I also have one rehab ongoing in Muscoy. We're turning that one into, well, it already had kind of multi-units, so we're just fixing them up. We finished the front house. Now we're moving to the main house. We just did a bunch of septic systems and whatnot too. So, and then I'm also in the middle of a refi in Twin Peaks. That is that house right there. And those are all the mobile homes actually. On the right, different pictures of it. And that's the one in Crestline. So, and I'm in the middle of one refi in Twin Peaks. I picked it up for $90,000. I put $130 into it. I'm trying to refinance it for $200. Okay, so I'm going to leave about 30-ish into it. And I should cash flow about like $500 a month. It's all said and done. And my tax rate is going to be like $1,300 a year. So, because I bought it somewhere else. So I'm trying to hang on to that tax rate. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit too. As far as ADUs, I'm working on one ADU project right there. We'll go into that a little bit more. That's in Rainy Springs. And I'm also in the middle of legalizing 2 of my properties that are currently non-conforming multi-units / ADUs. And I'm trying to convert them to legal. Okay? And I run this here club. So I'm a little stat busy. So if I don't answer the phone right away, or I don't get back to you, if I said, you guys asked me a question and you're like, Rich never got back to me, I swear it's not on purpose. It's just like literally you go to the top of my text messages and then you get the bottom of like 20 minutes left. So just keep following up with me if you're one of those people. I promise I'll eventually get back to you. All right, so show of hands. Back to what we're doing here. You don't know what the question is yet. Yeah, but you're way too confident compared to that. So, all right, who wants to invest out of state, or who's thinking about investing out of state? Don't be shy. It's okay. Raise your hand. Hey, it's about half the room. Half the room. Good. Who owns property out of state? Any current landlords out of state? Okay. All right. 3, 4. I'll put them up again. Who owns out of state? Okay. We've got, what's that? Read it before? Of you that raised your hands for who owns property out of state, how many of you bought it when you lived there? Okay. So versus then moved here and then bought it. Okay. And then who owns property in California? All right, so cool. So a good mix in the room. Just wanted to get an idea of where everybody's at. So why out of state? Those people that raised their hand that bought out of state, why did you buy out of state? Or why do you want to buy out of state? Anybody? Cheaper? Cheaper in what way? Like the actual cost of the house? Okay.
Costs. You can get it for a lot less.
You can get it for a lot less.
Yeah. Or
Purchase price. Purchase price.
Down payment.
And down payment. Okay?
Look,
Yes, sir.
for favorable landlord.
Favorable landlord, that is on here somewhere. How about insurance? Anybody think insurance is cheaper? No? Depends. Depends. Oh, wow.
Because they have earthquakes and everything.
Hey, earthquakes are really? Maybe that's what Yeah. So actually, guys, we don't have to pass the mic around anymore. I fixed that. There's about 17 microphones in the room. So, don't scratch something too hard. It's gonna hear. What's that? You lost your job? You can still hang around. I get better audio off that. We don't have to. Yeah, I figured it was just kind of kill the mood. Wait, take the microphone.
Well, you do have 2 people on right tonight.
Okay. Well, you guys just stand there and look pretty. At least now if you want to ask a question, you got your own money. So, all right, cheaper insurance. Anything else out of state?
Landlord friendly.
Landlord friendly. That's on there somewhere. Cheaper taxes? Not necessarily. Hey, you guys already know all this stuff. What am I doing up here? All right, so friendly landlord rules. Okay. What about like rehab materials? Are they cheaper? No? Maybe? Okay, we got a good mix of the room saying no's, maybes. About contractors.
Yes. Maybe.
You think so?
Yes.
Why would you think so? Okay? Who would agree with that? Cost of living is cheaper? Cheaper prices? Okay? All right. What about better weather? Hey, you know, some people really try hard to convince themselves that they love the weather in Phoenix. When I lived there, I was one of those people. If you're too driving, you get used to it after like 8 years.
Aren't you the guy who had his roof collapse on a car?
What?
Aren't
Me?
you the guy that had his roof collapse on a tenant's car?
Yeah, that was here. That wasn't.
I know.
Oh, yeah. All right, we'll get there. That's still my joke. Okay. All right. You think it's less or more maintenance here or other states?
Other states.
Other states? Okay. Cool. I know. Good questions. All right, cheaper houses. What do we call a cheaper house? Affordable? A bargain? Anything else?
Less money you pay for more square footage.
Less money you pay for more square footage.
A distraction, that's what
Okay.
we're gonna call it.
All right, so I looked at Zillow or Redfin or whatever it was last night, and brought up some different houses in different neighborhoods or different areas. Okay, so Billings, Montana. Who wants to buy property in Billings, Montana? It'd be kind of cool. Mom says it'd be kind of cool. Me maybe. Once upon a time.
I would like to
Not
find
more.
one.
All right, so like when I was looking at 3.2s, about 2,000 square feet, 1,500 square feet, somewhere around there, like a normal house. You guys agree that's kind of like a normal house?
Yes.
3.2, 1,500, 2,000 square feet, somewhere around there. Okay. We kind of topped. It seemed like the average was probably about 300 for a single family. These two up here seemed like they were mobile homes that were trying to be single family. So I kind of it was hard to screenshot them really all that. So Billings, Montana is about 300,000 for a 3.2 right now. I looked at also Birmingham, Alabama, and they're all over the place. Okay, you get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath for 50 grand. You can get a 3.2 for 100, 3.2 for 180, 3.2 for 325. I really know nothing about Birmingham, Alabama to know which type of, why these houses are varying so much in the same city. I mean, I can take some guesses, but that's like looking at something in San Bernardino, and like the 3.2 a few blocks down is all of a sudden $200,000 more. You don't really see it too much here, but I don't really know what that means. But so kind of like an average, I don't know, 300,000. That's good. I just picked these at random. I don't have any reason for picking it. Okay? Also, I looked at Wichita, Kansas. And Wichita, Kansas is definitely less expensive. I think our average is probably about 200 in Wichita. Anybody been to Wichita? Yeah?
Yeah.
What's there to do in Wichita?
My family.
What do people drink? What comes from corn? Whiskey? Yeah. All right. So, the average is about 300,000. Okay? Now, is there a lot of $300,000 houses in California? Yes. The Boondocks. Okay. What are we calling the Boondocks? Barstow? We just don't talk about Barstow. Barstow, okay. Yucca Valley, Desert Hot Springs. What do you got, Patrick? What's the Boonies?
Needles.
Needles? Life. Okay. Good stuff. All right. So I picked. You guys are gonna probably never heard of this one, Crestline. Would Crestline be the boonies? Yes, kind of. Maybe. Depends where you live. You know what it takes me to get here?
30 minutes.
Depends which car I'm in. 20? I wish. Okay, my fastest was 27 minutes. My average is like 35.
Exactly.
Somewhere around. Okay. It takes you 30 minutes to get here from come on. My point exactly. Remember she said that. Okay? So, Crestline, 3.2, 1,300 square feet, 1,100 square feet, 350 is about the average right now for a 3.2 in Crestline. Okay? Is that cheaper, about the same, more than, I don't know, Birmingham, Alabama? Wichita, Kansas?
More expensive than
A little bit. What was the first one? Billings, Montana. Billings is pricey,
Full of California.
right? We're gonna talk about that too. Okay.
size of the houses are they? The same?
Yeah, I try to stay in like about a 1,500 square foot range. So this one down here is 1,756. That one right there is 1,250. That one up there is a little smaller, 834, but that one's 1,300 square feet, 1,200 square feet, 1,300 square feet, and 1,800 square feet up there. You know what? I also, just side note, for you that you like statistics and keep an eye on the market. As I was going through these, and again, I picked these completely at random. I wasn't trying to prove anything or anything with what I was picking. I literally just, whatever city came to my head, I just Googled or put it in. So there's a lot of price cuts on here. It's not just here. So, there, let's back up. So, these are the ones, I might give you guys a good job, just come hold the mic. This is Billings, right? So price cut 25,000, price cut 20,000. Let's see here. Price cut 10,000, price cut 5,000, price cut 3,300, price cut 14,000, 10,000, 10,000. 10,000 on a $2,245,000 house is a big price cut. Okay? And here in California, 115 days on Zillow, price cut 30,000. 33 days, price cut 10,000, 87 days on Zillow, price cut 6,400. Which brings us to the next one, Apple Valley. Is Apple Valley the boonies?
Yes.
Yeah?
Not as much as Barstow.
The girls that show up that are from Victorville, they would have been like, no. We're gonna keep going. Okay, I don't think it's the boonies. It's an hour from here, guys. It's an hour. Okay?
Rich Crest.
Like, I wouldn't want to commute to LA from it.
Rich Crest is boonies.
The beach is an hour also. Okay, so I don't agree that it's the boonies, but all right. Same thing, okay, about 360, 370. So a little bit more, but are we talking like, if you're gonna put a down payment on something, or, I mean, if you're gonna pay cash, you have that kind of cash sitting around. Is $20,000, $30,000 more on an average? More or less, is that really more expensive? In the grand scheme of things? Probably not. What about Lancaster? Lancaster's the boonies. I will agree with you there. From here, Lancaster is a trip. Okay, but same thing. You know, you can get 3.2s. My point in showing you guys this is that not every house in California is a $800,000 3.2 or in Wayne Park or Anaheim or stuff like that. Okay, so if you are of an investor mindset that you are trying to look for investment homes that you are yourself are not going to live in, having that mentality that everything in California is super expensive and everything else in every state is super cheap, I think you're caught up in the hype, the hate California hype. Okay, now you can go buy. There are definitely houses out there that are a lot cheaper. Okay, that are $50,000, Why do you think that is? Location. Nobody wants to live there. Condition. Neighborhood, crime. Appreciation. Yeah, that house might have been $50,000 for a long time. Okay. What I didn't put on here on these slides, like I said, that house that I'm refining right now, I got that for $90,000. Okay, that house is 37 minutes away from here. Okay, and it's not the first one that I bought in Crestline under $100,000. Okay, it won't be the last. There's actually one up in Crestline on the MLS right now for $50,000. I would not recommend buying it. But they're out there, okay? And if they're listed for $50,000, it's probably worth $10. Okay, maybe it's worth generous. Okay, so cheaper. For all intents and purposes, I don't really think that it's too much cheaper elsewhere. There's a lot of opportunity here that's just in the same price point. And it's a lot closer than all the way in some other state, okay? Now, let's move forward on cheaper insurance. Anybody thought insurance was cheaper in other states? Not a single one of you.
I did.
Okay? Ohio, maybe?
Maybe, I'm not sure. But I know in Florida it's more. Arizona?
In Florida, it's more expensive? Right. I was actually, so I couldn't put every single, it was 50 states, all right? I couldn't put every single one on here. 51, including Columbia, District of DC, I guess. What's that? Nevada? I don't know if I did Nevada. So California averages like 1,200. And I think that's a little higher. These numbers said they were from 2024. I got it from Bankrate. Okay, I put the source on here. But if you disagree, you're free to come up here and do your own presentation. Okay? So 1,200 is the average. The national average is like 1,800 for a 3-bedroom house. For a regular house, it's 1,800 a year for insurance. Okay, California is actually below the national average as far as this chart's concerned. Okay, some other ones out there: Missouri, Montana. Montana right there is actually more than, that would shock me. I thought Montana was pretty much cheaper and everything, to be honest with you. I spent a lot of time in Montana. I didn't really think that something up there was really that much more cause of insurance. For the snow?
Snow in the mountains.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Nebraska, holy crap.
Yeah, Nebraska is crazy.
$5,000. Tornadoes, right? I guess tornadoes are expensive. And for the climate change doesn't exist, they're getting more frequent, I guess. So, and then Florida, Georgia. Georgia was pretty rich right on there. Florida, this is why I kind of, I don't know if I trust completely these numbers from Bankrate.com, because as far as I know, Florida is absolutely skyrocketing right now.
270,000, we paid like about 3,000.
Okay.
So that's
For how much?
for about 200, like 220,000.
Where in Florida?
Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
It doesn't include flood insurance. So it's like
I don't know if it ever does.
30,000.
I definitely pay extra for that.
30,000 without flood insurance.
Okay. It's a little low. A couple more states. These are the ones that are really good for insurance. Okay, so Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia. They all have pretty good rates. Some other ones that Texas was really high on insurance. Okay. Tennessee, South Dakota. Again, another one that was like, I don't know. Is that tornadoes too in South Dakota? In South Dakota? I don't know. South Dakota is really expensive for insurance currently. And then California, there again. So is the insurance cheaper? Depends. But probably where you're thinking these cheap Midwest houses are, your tornado insurance is gonna, we'll see. Cheaper materials. Who thinks materials are cheaper?
No.
Nobody? Oh, you did? All right, we'll go through for you, Mom. There we go. All right. That is a bundle of roofing in San Bernardino. It is $39.47. I think it's cheaper or more expensive, and I don't remember which town I picked, but somewhere cheap. Somewhere cheaper. I think it's more. Think it's cheaper? Topeka, Kansas, it's 50 cents more. Okay? What about East Palm Beach Lakes, Florida? Same price. God, it's like there's this huge corporation that just, just sets the price up. It's weird. The only place it was cheaper was Billings, Montana, by $2 a month. Okay, so if you do the whole house, the whole roof, or you have to drive up there and bring it back. As long as you buy all your gas in Montana, might be a little cheaper. And then how about, just so we're looking at something different, how about some Harvey Backer? This stuff used to be $9.45 when I sold it. Okay? Now it's $18.20. Now they got another version where it's like waterproof or something. They put the stuff in it that they told us to sell against. For the whole time I worked for them, they put the stuff in there from the other company. Now it's embedded in the board and it's better. I don't know how that works. That stuff's like $33 a sheet now. I'm just like, so that is in San Bernardino, $18.27. Cheaper, more expensive? Cheaper? No more tricks now. No more tricks now. The more. Like 75, well, I don't know. I can't do math right now. 60 cents. So, yeah, Home Depot's gonna get you. Okay? There's no, that supply chain is locked in. It's either Home Depot or Lowe's. They say they're not colluding. Whatever. I'll let you judge. Okay, so cheaper materials, no. How about cheaper taxes? So we're the highest in California?
Yeah.
One of the highest. One at a time. Fair?
No, I was just gonna say that my friends throughout the country will say, I don't know how you live in California with those taxes. They always say, complain about the taxes.
Yeah, they complain about all the taxes overall. The gas tax.
Well, no, I'm talking about even property tax, like they talk
Property
about our
taxes.
taxes being so high.
Employment taxes. Taxes on taxes. All right, this isn't a tax. This is where we're too into taxes, but it's true. Okay, so this chart, though, takes into account percent of your personal income. Okay, what taxes are based, your property taxes in relation to your personal income. Okay, so the highest or the lowest, actually, sorry, the highest is Maine. In Texas, pretty high on there. District of Columbia, New York, all pretty high. And then at the bottom there, you got Alabama at 1.37, all the way up to about 2 in Nevada. So Nevada's tied for North Carolina for the top 10, rounding out the top 10 there. Okay, and then California is actually pretty middle of the road. Okay, so again, this is property taxes in correlation to what you get paid here, because believe it or not, most people pay you more money to work here in the state of California due to the cost of living, okay, which we talked about earlier. The incomes in California are higher than they are in the rest of the state, okay? So, just to keep that in mind, okay? But the big thing is, when it comes to taxes, what does California have that no other state has? The family thing that you pass it down? Prop 13. Who's familiar with Prop 13? Okay. All right. That's all right. Okay. So, and this is something I promise you, your friends that live in Jersey or Texas or whatever that are trying to get you to invest elsewhere, they don't really ever bring this up. Okay, it's because California is pretty much exclusive to the entire country that has something like this. Okay, and what that does, this is massive, guys. This is California Prop 13. I think it was passed in 1978, something like that. Okay, and it's the reason why it makes investing in California, at least from a tax standpoint, very predictable. Okay, your property taxes. Okay, very predictable because under Prop 13. Your taxes are limited to about 1% of the assessed value, and they can't go up more than 2% a year. Okay, so when we had all that crazy valuation change during COVID, Who got a massive tax bill because of it? Who owns a property in California? Again, okay? And you get a massive tax bill when your property values doubled in 2021? No? Prop 13 is why. Okay, they passed, basically, the reason they did this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I understand it, the way they did this is that basically older folks were getting priced out of their home, they were pushed out of their homes on the coast and on the higher population areas of California, were getting pushed out of their homes because they couldn't afford the property taxes anymore. Because the home values were appreciating so much that they couldn't afford the tax bill. So that people were losing their homes, not because of anything that they did, just because their house was simply worth more. Okay, so the state government stepped in, came up with Prop 13, and they fixed all the rates like at what they were like 5 years before they passed it over there. And then they limited. Okay, so did I say that right, Andy?
The state
Sound like you disagree.
No, the state government did, the populace of the state revolted and passed Prop 13, much to the consternation of the government.
Okay, I had that incorrect. Well, the state still did it, just the state of the people. No, I was just finished. Okay. All right, so I stand corrected. Sorry, yes, because in California we have propositions that anybody can basically put together, get enough people together, and then we vote on it as a state. Okay, and Prop 13 passed. Okay, so it'll never happen again. They said, probably not. So, and they've been trying to repeal it, make changes to it, all kinds of stuff. Anybody ever heard of Mellow-Roos?
Yes.
Okay, Mellow-Roos are like the answer to Prop 13 for like development kind of thing, where they put these special taxes on you to develop new property. Okay, but for the ones that are already, sorry?
Prop 19.
Prop 19? That was the Mellow-Roos one?
No, that's the death tax.
Oh, yeah. We're not gonna get too much into that right now. Okay, but Prop 13, this is big. So if you buy a property at $300,000, okay, and it appreciates to $600,000 within 5 years or 10 years, you don't get that massive tax. You don't have to pay that, whatever, if it's 5% of the tax rate's 5% or 2%, 8%. What is it in Jersey, like 9%? Something like that. You don't have to pay that, okay? So you have to pay a little bit of an increase, but not the full value, okay? So as an investor, it makes it a lot easier to anticipate what your taxes are going to be. You're not going to get a massive variation, okay? People in Texas that are getting, all of a sudden, or these other states where the property's got up 150% in a couple of years because all these Californians fled the state and went there. What do you think their taxes did? They went up a lot. Yeah, do you have a question?
Yeah, you said that the property taxes are limited to 1%, but not to exceed 2%.
Yeah, they can't. It's 1% when you buy the property, and it can't go up more than 2% per year. So even if your house appreciated 50% in 1 year, your tax bill can only go up 2%. And it does. I mean, don't go for it. Yeah. But again, if the same thing happened in Texas, guess what? You're paying 8% of the now double value the next year. So you get a fat tax bill. Question?
I have to comment on Prop 13 since I lived through it.
When did you buy your house?
The house that I'm in now, we've been about 46 years ago.
1973.
Yeah. And I paid, I think it was about $45,000 or $50,000 for it. And somebody up the hill bought an identical one like mine. They were on the East Coast, and some smart realtor sold it for them for, I think it was $80,000 that they paid for it. The tax collector came to my house and reassessing and said, "This is what your house is worth now." And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, yeah, the identical house up here, if they can sell it for that, you can too." And so I said, as a relatively beginning teacher at that time, and my wife wasn't working that much, I said, I don't see how we can possibly do that. And fortunately, thank the Lord, Prop 13 came, and my taxes got back down, and they only charged for the 50 that I originally paid for. And it saved an awful lot of houses
Yep, and that was in 1973, you said? You bought it?
Yeah, bought it in 70.
Bought it in 73? Okay, what is your house worth now today?
Oh, about 700.
700? Do you pay 1% tax of 700,000 every year? No. No, not even close.
His assessed value is up to about 150.
His assessed value is right towards 150. So he pays 2% on 150, that's what 2%. Okay, so we'll get more into that in a little bit. So as an investor, you own 10 houses in California, let's say, okay, and they all double over 10 years, let's just say, okay, for argument's sake, they all double. What happens to your tax rate? They stay pretty even. Yeah, they're gonna go up, everything goes up, but not at the same if you bought 10 houses in Texas and they all doubled, and now you're paying double the taxes and all, okay? I mean, it's not an apples-to-apples comparison, okay? It's just something to keep in mind, right? Because again, no other state has this, and as much as they tried to take it away, who knows what the future will hold? If it'll grandfather in or will take it away, and who knows? But we have to play in the box that we have now, okay? All right, so, come on. Better weather.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody thought it was better weather?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody live in other states?
Watching it on TV.
Anybody lived in other states where this was true?
Yes.
Okay, for you. Well, I'm in California. It was true for me last year. Okay. But that was a 100-year blizzard. Okay. As far as you know, for the next 100 years, I can say it was a 100-year blizzard.
I don't think it's so that yours is only snow. I've only seen the show.
Exactly. And that snow, that was melted in about 3 weeks. And after we dug ourselves out, we were on the beach. About a week later. Okay, so, yeah, so still better. Can't be California weather. I've lived in different states, lived in Arizona, traveled all over the country. Our weather is crazy, even I haven't been all over the world yet, but even like the Mediterranean, I've been to Greece and stuff in the summer, and it's very similar. Like they say, we have a Mediterranean climate, but having the desert behind us and everything, we don't have the
water, okay?
except the
Mediterranean, you can get into the water. Here, it's cold.
It's cold. That's why we invented wetsuits. All right, and then some of you brought up property management, landlord friendly, those kind of rules, okay? That is an entire presentation in itself, okay? So I'm not gonna dive into it too much tonight, but I will say that yes, our laws need a little bit more tenant friendly than they do housing provider friendly, okay? But it is not like, the term California or, all those things you see, like look, you can still evict people, okay? You couldn't for a while, COVID changed that obviously across the entire country, but you can still evict people, you still have rights as a housing provider here, okay? You have resources at your disposal to correct the situation, okay? Yes, I know there's outliers and stuff like that of people you see on the news where they squatted in a house and they stole it from the owner and stuff like that, okay? Whoever owned that house was an idiot, okay? Like, straight up, okay? You need to make sure you do the proper paperwork, okay? If you go into court, you have to deal with this stuff. The proper paperwork will help you out a ton, okay? Proper screening, okay? Proper screening. It's not whoever knocks on the door and says they need somewhere to live, you take a deposit and let them in. Okay, I feel like a lot of these cases could probably be, not completely wiped clean, but it would be a lot better with some proper screening. If you don't know how to properly screen a tenant, a resident, take Dave Tony's class.
If you haven't had Dave,
And if you haven't taken Dave Tony's class, take it anyways. Okay, it is this weekend. Okay, so 3-day class, I think it's like $600. It is one of the best $600 you'll ever spend. Okay, I was a terrible housing provider until I took Dave Tony's class. And I'm not perfect now, but I'm a lot better. Yes, sir.
I will point out that David Tilney is the reason I can manage 30 single-family rentals and not spend over 150 hours a year in property management.
Likewise, he's the reason I also went back to long-term rentals and have 11 of them. I spend a couple hours maybe a week on most of the accounting stuff,
If
okay?
you're gonna do property management, you need to be in that class this weekend.
Yep, and there's, he hasn't been around too much lately, but Matt Tandy is a member here. He's great on the legal side of things. If you ever have any questions, get all of Matt from Matt Property Management, just give him a call. He's always willing to answer questions. Dave Tilley's class is this weekend,
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's not something we're producing. He does his own thing. So I think it's davetilley.com, davidtilley.com.
davidtilley.com.
Yeah, so just Google him, you'll find him. But that is an excellent course, and you meet other people that have good ideas too. I learned like the way I take rent was from Dave Tilley's class, not Dave Tilley himself, but all very helpful stuff. So again, I don't want to get too down into the weeds here on landlord stuff. We had an entire fire focus meeting for rentals and talking about that stuff. I will just say that don't let yourself get in that position, okay, as much as you can. And if you do find yourself in that position, there's a way out. It's not like just somebody can just squat in your house forever and you can't do something about it. As long as you did it properly, okay? So set yourself up for success. Yes?
What was the other guy's name that you mentioned?
Matt Tandy.
Matt Tandy.
Yep. He's not an attorney, he's just a property manager, but he probably could have been an attorney. What's up?
What do you make of the, I'll call them threats from the state, California state legislature and a few of the Congress people who were talking about passing things like tenant equity rights and statewide controls, rent controls and things like that.
Anything could happen. Follow it that closely. But anything could happen. A lot of times these guys are, blowing smoke to their constituents. And to be honest with you, the people that still run the state, and I'm not talking at the state level, but all the way up and down they're all real estate investors. So yes, sir.
That's one of the main advantages of this type of organization.
Mhm.
When something like that comes down the pike, we have the ability to come together, organize, and fight. And if we don't fight it, we're too busy making money to step up, contribute to the appropriate organizations, put up the fights, sign the petitions, get this stuff dealt with. We deserve what we get in this stupid socialist state.
I'd say.
Love you, Andy.
So, some of that I would agree with. A lot of it I would. I don't want to dive too much into state politics here, but I think it's important to stay up on it and stay involved. And absolutely, there's I wasn't really ready to announce this right in a second, but I am working on a larger organization that is more focused on policy. Keep the politics out of this club.
I'm just wondering, because I'm just asking from the standpoint of, as a person who might start investing in multifamily or something like that, and I don't have anything specifically in California right now, would it be better, considering all these things, to start somewhere else?
That's a you decision.
Yeah, I mean, so I just
Honestly,
wrote it up there.
that's a you decision. There's people in Congress
It's a
that
question
are
that
calling for
everybody
this
should
stuff.
ask, I think.
There's people in Congress that are calling for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, should you invest in the U.S. instead of investing, out of the country? I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't see that kind of stuff gaining traction that fast that it's going to change my entire investment strategy.
Got it.
Would be the easiest way I can answer that. Any other questions before I move on? Okay. So, why California? Well, as we've seen, or we were talking about economics, appreciation, Prop 13, ADUs, and project management. Okay, so why California? Let's talk about economics real quick. Do you realize that you live, so basically, Southern California, okay, a 2-hour drive around here, basically gets you anywhere in Southern California, for the most part, okay? Southern California is the third most wealthiest place in the entire planet. The entire planet, okay? as far as GDP is concerned. The amount of money that passes through Southern California is third only to New York and New Jersey, the Hudson Bay area, and Tokyo, Japan. Okay? And it's not even by that much. Right, we're almost number 2. So, this slide, not this particular one, but a different slide. I was trying to find the actual slide that blew my mind like 5 years ago. I think it was a Bruce Norris presentation, but he was talking about overall the Inland Empire itself, just San Bernardino and Riverside County, are it's like top 10 in the entire country. As far as just our 2 counties, this little economic sector is like the 9th biggest by GDP in the entire country. Okay, so we were. This is really what changed our mindset. By Lama Angela and Evan, we were doing 3 properties up in the state of Washington. Okay, and we weren't as experienced as we are now, but we were pretty experienced. We were about 3 or 4 years into flipping. We did three properties up in the state of Washington, and my stepbrother was he lived up there, and he was boots on the ground for us a little bit. And we didn't end up losing money on those deals as far as like the actual, we bought it for this, put this in, and sold it. But I promise you, the amount of time we spent up there, the amount of frustration we spent with contractors, we drove back and forth because Evan likes to drive. So I drove once. To this day, I think we all recognize that we probably lost some opportunity cost by the amount of time that we were going out there. And we were experiencing it, okay? I'm not saying that's the same for everybody. But what changed our mind is we had talked about investing in Arizona since I lived out there. We talked about Vegas since we liked going out there. We had family on the ground in Montana, family on the ground in Spokane. We were looking at different people from the club and telling us about these places they were buying $50,000 triplexes and stuff in Alabama and blah, 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 blah. And it was this thing that I think really changed our mindset as far as how much economic activity is happening right here in Southern California. 2 hours, within a 2-hour radius around you. It's the third biggest, wealthiest place in the world. Okay? So, my challenge to you is if you could get a small chunk of that $1.5 trillion, would you go for it? Yeah? Yeah? Now, if you look at, Boise, Idaho, okay? Boise, Idaho makes I don't even know what the number is. It doesn't even show up on the map if you're gonna do it by this. But their appreciation is off the freaking charts. But is that sustainable? Is it something that's gonna stick around? I don't know, so we'll talk about that a little bit more. The rest of those are all in China and London, okay? So, and think about how many people are in Southern California. We still have that GDP. Think about how many people are in Shanghai and Beijing. I don't know exactly, but I know it's not even, yes sir, do you know?
No, I was gonna ask what time frame was this, Rich?
This was now. This was like the newest data, I think from, I had ChatGPT kind of put this all together. That's part of it.
I would think that Japan.
It pulled from, but the data I gave it was from it was either the Cincinnati Fed or the Philadelphia Fed. One of the two. It was I don't remember. But, good question. But it was recent. This wasn't, I think it was as recent as you could look, which was 2022. All right, so, anyways, population-wise, we didn't even have the same amount of people. Not even close. I mean, Tokyo has I don't even know. I should have looked this up, sorry. But I don't know if anybody wants to Google it, chime in later. What about all the Californians leaving towards Texas? It's a good question. As far as I know, the last time I looked, you saw the California, everyone's leaving California. You saw that stuff, right? Right. When I looked at those numbers, it was for the first time in 50 years, more people left California than had come into California. Okay, and it was by 10,000 people. So historically, 100,000 people come into California every year, and 95,000 leave. Okay, for the first time, it was like 110,000 people came, and 110,000 people came, and 120,000 people left. Something like that. My point is it's so negligible, but the news will blow it up, and anything that makes California look weak. You know, they hate us because they hate us. So anything that stuff sells, the rest of the country. Okay, so the reality is, from what I can tell, is there's a reason we like living in here. There's a reason a lot of people would love to live in California. Okay, and for every person that leaves, for a long time there was 2 more coming in. Okay, that's kind of evened out, but I don't see our population falling off a cliff anytime soon. We still have just for the weather. No other reason, like just the weather. Okay, let alone that we spend 1.5 trillion.
California got 23.6.
Southern California has 23 million. Okay,
Shanghai's got 26.3.
Shanghai has 26 million.
The city.
What about Tokyo?
The city.
Tokyo's
Shanghai.
13.
What about Beijing?
Tokyo's 13 million.
Tokyo's 13 million.
Yeah.
China's 14 billion.
Damn, those Japanese are crushing it. Just over.
I work for a Japanese company.
What's the in Beijing? No, there's like 10 billion people on the planet or something. That'd be impressive. That'd be really impressive. So, anyways, this. You're from Beijing. Tell us, a lot of people.
Guys, this primary room, like it's not like 500 square feet, his floor, 60 years old, whole building, like, and then you'll have your own land, and guess how much? And the prime location they keep rent or.
Prime location?
350?
500.
350 million yen.
700K dollars.
$700,000.
Wow.
For 500 square
That's
feet?
what I own, and I sell it.
That's 500 square feet?
Yeah.
For 700K?
Yes. In a prime location.
All right. Good enough.
So the last guy.
In a prime location?
So, one way to look at that is, yeah, we're not in Beijing. You think it's expensive here? All right.
Now maybe that's why they're buying here.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, guys, the point of this slide is how much wealth you're surrounded by. Okay, there's so much opportunity out there, and small pockets, big pockets, high end, low end, mid range. There's really almost nothing else like it. Different climates and all kinds of like just I know who grew up here. Okay, you tend to not realize something when you grow up until you move away. Okay, I moved away to Phoenix. I lived there for 8 years. I don't know how the hell I did it, but I hated it every summer. Okay, and I missed the beach. Okay, and when I come, and I always try and convince myself how much I didn't miss California until I actually came back to California for the weekend. And I was like, shh. Gas is $3.50 a gallon. So I convinced myself that I couldn't, I didn't want to live here. Okay, but just be aware. Okay, appreciation. Okay, so this is a chart of the last 5 years of appreciation in the entire country. Okay, again, California is not the highest, it's not the lowest, it's about middle of the road. The average was 59.8%, so 60%. California is right there. Okay? But let's say you're a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Normally, the median house is $650,000, and that house appreciates 60%. Now, let's say you're in Idaho, or Oregon, or one of these other ones, and your house was $80,000 5 years ago and appreciates 120%. See what we're getting at?
Yep.
Okay. So the prices were already high here. Okay? And they go even higher. Even though there's room for these other states to get really high, their prices were lower to begin with. Like, I was listening, Andy's gonna laugh at me for the story. I was listening to Andy and Jeremy Gone, another member. Did you know Jeremy? Okay, so this was at Masters a couple years ago. And they were having a discussion about taxes and IRAs and notes and all kinds of stuff. And at one point, Jeremy was like, yeah, but if it's if I have 100% gain, like even if I double my money, if I have 100% gain, if I start with $1, 100% gain is only another $1. Like, big lump, you know. So, and Andy was, you know, trying to school him on you know, kind of other stuff, and Jeremy was just like, I don't care. So, but I just remember because Andy had a couple and Jeremy had a couple, and it was just like I'm just sitting there like a fly on the wall, like just laughing. So percentages aren't everything, okay? They can be a little bit deceiving. Okay, so let's look at appreciation, kind of an example of this real quick. So the median home price 5 years ago in California was $602,000. Okay, the appreciation in the last 5 years has been 63%. Idaho has been $121,000. The median price for Idaho was $196,000. Okay, so I'm going to do a calculation here. Who thinks that California is going to stay pretty steady at a 60% appreciation over 5 years?
We're not building enough.
It's going to drop. Think it's going to stay steady? Who thinks it's going to drop? Who thinks it's going to drop a little? Who thinks it's going to drop a lot?
I mean, year-over-year drop or
5 years. So the next 5 years.
Yeah.
What do you think, Caitlin? Hopefully it's up. Yeah, as a California homeowner, yeah, I hope so too. Yeah. Hopefully up. I think you know, with everything we've been talking about, the economy, the economics, you know, how many people are here, the businesses, the, you know, employment's up, businesses are up, you know, a lot of things are up. So 5 years out from now, I'm hoping that it's even. If it drops a little, it's okay. If it drops a lot, that means I'm buying more houses. So either way. But Idaho, who thinks Idaho, well, the last 5 years, you know, keep into account everything that happened with COVID, people, you know, leaving the state, going to Idaho, and all the other, you know, periphery states that all the rich Californians go. Do you think Idaho for the next 5 years is going to have the same appreciation?
Definitely not.
Who says no? Who says no? Who says it's going to stay the same? Who says it's going to go up? It's going up. Okay. Who thinks it's going to go down a little bit? Just a little bit, like maybe 100%. Like it's 100% instead of 120. Okay. Who thinks it's going to half? Who thinks it's going to come down to California levels? Lower? Who thinks it's going to be lower than California? Who thinks it's going to go down? Really?
Why?
What? Why? Why do you think it's going to go down? Weather. You've been to Coeur d'Alene in the winter? Picture. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. What? So why do you think it's going down?
I think it's going down because, you know, people move over there, but then after a while, they get tired of it and then they come back.
Yeah, they realize the weather sucks and they want to come back to California.
They have lakes and not beaches.
They have lakes and not beaches. And they can only enjoy it for 2 months out of the year and then it freezes. Okay.
I literally just told Rahel that I have friends that moved there during all the COVID stuff. They absolutely hate it because of the weather, and they went in.
They grew up in California?
Her husband just wants to come back to California.
Yeah.
But she's sticking for him because of the politics stuff. But other than that, they would come back.
Yep. Yeah, you know, I loved living in the mountains for the first 3 years that I lived up there. And I still like it. Okay? But after that snowstorm where I had to dig my Jeep out from 6 feet of snow, if I had to do that every single year, I don't know. Honestly, don't. But anyways, or I'd have to pay someone. I know, right? I have a tractor or something. I don't know, we'll figure it out.
Just put a plow on.
Put the plow on the Jeep. And you gotta go outside. All right, so let's look at this, okay? So I think, personally, I was optimistic for both of them. I thought that California would stay about the same, okay? And that Idaho would come down to California levels. Because I agree with your friends. I think a lot of people moved out of state and realized that it wasn't, this, the grass was greener syndrome kind of thing. I don't think it turned out to be exactly what they thought. Being that there's nothing to freaking do other than drink, in hindsight, or grow corn or whatever you want to do. And B, that a lot of them left their entire families to California. And now they're shocked that their California family doesn't want to come visit them more than like once every 5 years in some other state. So personally, I think that it's going to reverse. I know Andy disagrees. Why do you disagree, Andy?
It's political.
Political? There's not that many Republicans in the state.
That's right. There's a lot more ladies.
Is that?
Go walk in San Francisco or LA. I mean,
True.
20 years ago, I used to love to go stay in a hotel downtown San Francisco and walk. It's a beautiful city to walk in. I wouldn't step foot in that city today.
Yeah. But at least you can walk most of the year in the city.
Idaho, any time of the year, feel better than walking in San Francisco.
Fair enough. Okay, so Andy's, because of crime policy and politics and stuff like that, thinks that California is just going to keep going down. And Idaho's going to keep going
I don't see any motivation to change from the people that are left.
Okay. All right, so I disagree. Like I said, we're going to roll with what I put together in this presentation.
Was not only us because it's budget, what was the reason why it increased so much? Did Idaho have factories built? What was
Well, cheaper.
there?
I mean, it's cheaper cost of living. I think there's a lot of, there's a ton of, everybody hear a question? Why other than COVID? Sure, this is fine. All right, hang on, let's start with that answer question real quick. So why other than COVID did people, well, I think there's a lot of reasons for that. There is something to be said for being able to sell your house in California and go retire in Idaho and buy it all cash and have, have a mansion and buy it all cash, and have land and privacy and a friendly government and whatever, whatever you want. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think that's been happening for a long time. I think COVID just accelerated that, some of that, and accelerated a lot of like the remote workers and all of that. And and that's even that's a major demographic thing too. I used to be like I grew up on the computer. My mom could attest. I used to go. This is how big of a nerd I was. Okay, I used to go early into school when I was in 5th and 6th grade to help the computer teacher build computers. Okay. So, and I wake up at 6 in the morning and I would go with my dad early to school to help the computer teacher. Okay? So when I used to, have to go into an office and all this stuff, and I was like, just let me work from home on Zoom, or whatever. Like, I don't need to, when you need to put pants on, I'm like, no, I don't. I can do this job anyway. But I will tell you, and somebody that used to just be Zoom, you could do Zoom all day, you don't have to be in person, corporations could, when COVID started, I was totally on board with remote work and that would work, and I know there's a lot of people that can make remote work, but there's a lot of people that couldn't, and there's a lot of organizations and companies and all that, and I really, the most place I noticed it was here, was the Zoom meetings did not have the same thing, the same feel, the same networking, even though we tried, guys, we did the breakout rooms and all that stuff, and we still, there's still clubs that are out there doing it right now. Nothing beats being in here and being able to laugh together, talk and break bread and, all that stuff. So, I think, you're already seeing it, a lot of corporations, calling people back to work and all that stuff. So, I think there's a lot of factors, but, it's nothing new, I guess, and it's going to continue. But again, for everybody that leaves California, there's at least one person as of right now that's coming back or moving into California. And there's probably someone else that wants to, but can't. Okay? So, and it's not just California. I mean, you're talking, there's other places in the country that are like that also. New York, Florida, that kind of stuff too. But, so anyways, for the sake of this exercise, I left California at 63%. Idaho, I brought down to California at 63%. So I let it run for I think it was 5 years, another 5 years at 120%. It was kind of late when I was doing this last night, so we'll get through this real quick. So, yes. Okay, so that's what I did. So I brought, this was over 25 years. Okay, so over the next 25 years, I took those numbers, I let Idaho run at 121% for the next 5 years, okay? And then I let it, for 20 years, I let them run just together, okay? And I wanted to see what would happen to taxes and your property values. Okay, so California, that median price becomes $4.5 million is what your house is going to be worth in 25 years. That's 63% appreciation. Okay? Every year, consecutively. Okay? Now, is that going to happen?
Yeah.
Well, remember, this is not, we don't live in a finite money supply system. Okay? So, $4.5 million today is not the $4.5 million of 25 years from now. Okay? Same reason why that house 20 years ago was $250, $300. And when you're looking at this chart going, and is inflation accelerating, slowing down, staying the same? Accelerating. Depends on if you have another, crisis.
A big function of why prices go up is the devaluation of the dollar.
The devaluation of the dollar.
Has been accelerated over the last 50 years.
Yep.
If it continues at that pace,
Yep.
you'll see basically a complete collapse of that money
Maybe.
before it gets to that.
Maybe not. So you brought up the devaluation of the dollar, and I would agree with you on that point. But that is the design. Okay? The design of the system is inflationary. You guys gotta understand this. If you don't understand anything about monetary policy, which is not the same as banking or other interest rates, okay, there's a policy that controls the money in this country. It's inflationary by design. Okay? It's why people buy assets that their value stays the same no matter what the dollar does. Okay? Over a certain amount of period of time. Okay? But that is our there's no way things are going down. Okay? In our this is so hard to explain this, but but I'm trying to explain it like a five. It's basically the system is designed so that to punish savers. Okay? So if you're saving money, you're hurting yourself by not investing it. Okay? Because the whole thing is designed so again that it grows and that things go up in value. It's inflationary. Okay? So keep that in mind. That's why things always go up. It's not by some some fluke that it just happens. It literally is by design. Okay?
But it changed much differently in '74 when Nixon took us off the gold standard.
Yep.
We went to fiat capital.
Yep.
When that happened,
True. But the whole world's like that.
then the appreciation
The whole world's like that.
accelerated.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yes. Yes, sir.
It depends on your measuring stick.
Depends on your measuring stick.
You're gonna use a dollar as a measuring stick, prices are always gonna go up.
Mhm.
If you use gasoline as your measuring stick, you will find out the prices don't go up that high.
Yep.
That same $600,000 will buy the same gallons of gasoline today as that $4.4 million will buy in gasoline then it'll be about the same number of gallons of gas.
Maybe, we're
Except
still
in
using gas.
California, the taxes will be another.
Right.
I like it better.
That is,
Is it true that if, for those of us that hold mortgages, if the dollar goes away to, I don't know, digital or francs or, I'm just throwing stuff out there, but whatever it is, does that mean everyone else's mortgage is void because it says dollars?
I have no idea.
No.
Probably not.
No.
Probably not. Look, anything, guys, 5 years from now, Obama could be back in office and you write an executive order saying that your mortgage is all now paid in again. Okay?
Michael's gonna do that?
What's that?
You think Michael's gonna do that?
Yeah. There's a lot of things that could happen, okay? When we're up here and we're talking about this stuff, it's in a box of what we know. Okay, what we know is that the monetary supply is inflationary by design. Okay, everything's gonna go up, your dollar's gonna be worth less. Okay, so plan accordingly. Buy assets accordingly. Whatever it is. Okay, hard assets. That's why we talk about real estate so much. Okay? It's not because we love houses, even though a lot of us do. Okay, it's because it's a great investment.
Yes.
Okay? So, what I was trying to show you on this slide is if you were going to buy the same house at the median in Idaho and you let it go for 25 years, and you're going to buy a house at the median in California for 25 years, this is the power of Prop 13. Okay? So if you notice, your cumulative tax that you paid is only $90,000 more than Idaho. Okay, but your property is you see the difference? Okay, if this property was worth $4.5 million in Idaho now, would your cumulative tax be higher or lower than 270? A lot higher.
Hey,
Wait, what was the question?
Huh?
What was the question again?
It wasn't a question, it was a statement.
What was the statement?
The statement was that this is what's showing you what the power of Prop 13 is, okay? As long as, yes, Prop 13 still exists in 25 years. Okay? Andy?
what's left of Prop 13?
Okay, we're going with what we know. Remember? Okay? We can speculate. These guys can speculate all day. Okay? But we're going with what we know. Okay? So, anyways, you guys see the difference in the, any questions on that? Do you want me to repeat that, LA?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Huh? Sure.
You already convinced us, we have to invest in California.
Great. All right. So one other thing, and then we'll get to that point. And then you'll love this one. Okay, so failed policies, all right? They've done a lot to, whether it's politics or whether it's, things happen, crises happen, people react to them, whatever it is, politics, propositions, who voted for it, whatever. I think we all agree that our housing policy sucks in California. Okay, and pretty much the entire country. Okay, there's a chronic housing shortage, not just here in California, not just here in the United States, but everywhere in the entire world is going through a full-on housing problem. Okay, but here specifically in California, obviously new construction takes forever. You do have that problem. Okay, new regulations make it more expensive, like having to put fire extinguishers and solar and all kinds of other stuff. Fire sprinklers, all kinds of stuff. Makes it more expensive to build. Okay? Now, those two things combined with this next one, I know it doesn't seem like it right off the cusp here, but it actually makes it a good thing as an investor. Okay? Because as long as that chronic housing shortage exists, that means your real estate in California is worth even more. If all of a sudden they build 1 billion houses in California, how much do you think your house is going to be worth? Right? Find a man. Okay, who thinks it's going to be worth less? They build 1 billion houses all of a sudden. Okay? Billy might have been exaggerating. But also wanted to point out, so we are short, and this is so chronic. When I say chronic, I don't mean the plant. It makes you feel good. I mean chronic as in the bad chronic, that it is an ongoing problem that we have a housing shortage. Okay, we are short since the mid-1970s. It is estimated that we are short 4 million houses or housing units in California. In just California. Okay? And then if we...
But we have property, we have the space for people, we have places for people to go, it's just,
Do we?
other people own them, yeah, there's a lot of empty property just sitting
Are they
around,
habitable?
it's just empty.
Well, that's a whole other, okay, that's a whole other discussion. And you are absolutely right. She said that there's a lot of property out there. Yeah, there's a lot of vacant property out there. And do they make it easy or hard for us to rehab them? Okay, so you're not wrong. There's a ton out there, but that's part of the problem. Okay, is that there's so much stuff in our way to get these things, yeah, all the red tape to get these things going. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. The 3 to 4 million, 4 million you said short, how do they come up with that number? What does that mean for each nuclear family to have a place to live with 4
I'm not exactly sure on the anybody know how they come up with that number? I mean, I can assume, but
It's the quantity of houses that are over-occupied,
That's-
the quantity of
people want to buy
homeless
houses.
families that are in the street living in tents.
undersized. It's a lot of different data from the census and, who wants to buy a house, who's looking for a house. It's not just one thing that they figure out. It's from a lot of different sources they kind of estimate. So it's a statistic. So they estimate about $3 to $4 million units short. So apartments, houses, that kind of stuff counts as a unit. Okay, 3 to 4 million units short, and we've been that short since the 70s. Okay, so even though all those houses you can drive down the freeway now, they're building more houses. There's gonna be more traffic. Anybody done that before? Yeah, right? Okay, it's still not enough. Okay. We would have to build, right now, starting today, we'd have to build 180,000, actually this was starting last year, we'd have to build 180,000 homes every single year to the end of the 2030s to catch up to that. Okay? Guess how many homes we built in 2023? 109,000. Wow, how'd you guess that? That's good. The animation's gonna make it to this slide, apparently. Are we close to that 180?
Not really.
Not even close. Not even close. So the fact that there's so much red tape to rehab properties, or for even families to qualify for the loan to buy those houses, even if they wanted to, is so hard that's why you see these homes and they get listed with investor special, because there's no way for regular people to buy them. That they know. Obviously, they could go and borrow money from private, stuff that we know. But try to explain that to somebody. Yes, sir.
Vina had an interesting article posted in Facebook earlier this week talking about how our bureaucrats, our bureaucracies, have declared what it requires to be a house. And they decided that some poor immigrant guy who buys a house that's an adequate house, but he'd like to improve it, and he gets started on it, and he gets nailed in the red tag in a house that was habitable and could be housing someone
He was fine, and his family was fine living in.
Yeah.
And then they forced him out of it. Right? They forced him out of it, and then
it could never get fixed.
And then it could never get fixed, and then they sold it, foreclosed on it, kicked him out, and then sold it to an investor, for $100 or whatever it was. But the point is you guys gotta understand this. All this red tape is not just about you going and getting a permit to build a house. Okay? This red tape is endemic, endemic, anemic? I don't know which one it is. Endemic? Is endemic. In the system, as far as all housing is concerned. Okay, people that want to buy houses that they would totally move their family into, but they can't because the paint's peeling, so they can't get a 3.5% loan because it's not perfect. Okay, because you have the feds think that they can't move into paint because the paint's gonna kill them. Well, I mean, it might kill them to not have a house too, you know, but, that's another argument. But the red tape is everywhere, okay? So what happens is, again, as an investor, we have a chronic housing shortage, we're never gonna catch up unless they clear all this red tape, which some of it is starting to kind of change a little bit. We're gonna go on the next slide here. So that's where it brings on ADUs, okay? Now this is something that is happening across the country, but it is happening here right in California, okay? Who's heard of NIMBY?
What?
NIMBY? The term NIMBY, not in my backyard?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, ever heard that term? Like they don't want people to buy them. NIMBYs are the reason a lot of this shortage exists, okay? For right now, they call them the YIMBYs, okay? Yes, in my backyards. They're winning at the moment as far as ADUs are concerned, okay? So there's people in the state government and other places and that have gotten some of these laws loosened up, okay? I know some of you know all this stuff, but with ADUs specifically, you can turn single families now into triplexes essentially. Okay, and I just got off the cruise with somebody that I was talking to where they have successfully argued the ADU law that you can put 2 ADUs on one lot and a junior. Okay, so you can actually make it a 4-plex. And they successfully argued that in the city of Riverside, I believe. Okay, so because the way that they did the language was a certain way that it was like may have an ADU instead of will have an ADU. Some technicality that they successfully argued. So in Riverside, you actually get 4. Okay? So this is huge because these laws are written in a way that are very, very favorable on getting rid of this red tape. Okay? It's not perfect. It doesn't mean you can just walk in and turn your living room into a thing. But it's pretty damn close. Okay? Like as close as we're going to get in California.
Are you gonna give us, I'm jumping ahead probably, but on ADUs, like what the specs are, like?
That's another whole presentation. It's very detailed.
It's gonna be a second Wednesday thing.
Yes, that'll be the second Wednesday on flipping and building and rehabbing and all that stuff. Okay, so the fire focus events, I'm mindset. I'm really trying to stick to mindset here. First Wednesdays are rentals. Second is rehabbing and wholesaling. Third is creative finance. Okay, so we'll talk about how to finance your ADUs creatively on the third Wednesday. And then I'm putting the idea in your head. Okay, so it's working. Just want to know more.
Wrong weekend. It's gonna be a first weekend thing.
First weekend.
Wednesday.
See, it's confusing me. All right. So tonight we're focusing on the idea. Okay. So you can turn. Great question. So you can turn now your single-family houses into multi-units. Okay. This is something that got passed down from the state legislature. They wiped out a bunch of red tape all over the cities. The cities can't back down from it. Even the HOAs can't do shit against it. Okay? So this is a powerful law that came down from the state level. The municipalities and everybody else, they have to abide by it. Okay? They don't have a choice. If they don't approve your ADU within 60 days of you submitting plans, it gets approved ministerially, which means that they can't unapprove it. Okay? It's automatic. So if they drag their heels and try to give you crap, and you have a fully done, proper plans and everything like that, it's approved. Boom, stamp, you're good to go. If they drag their heels on it. Okay? Make sure they follow those, your plans follow the sheet that they give you. As long as it follows that sheet, and you nail it, you cross every one of those T's and dot every one of those I's, approved.
You said 180 days?
60 days.
Oh, 60.
They have 60 days, okay, to tell you no and what you need to correct, okay? And if their correction is not a legal correction, okay? Yes, statewide.
Awesome.
Yep.
Do you know about how much it costs to do all the process?
Okay, I've heard how much does it cost? Okay, garage conversion, I've heard anywhere between $50 to $100,000. Okay, convert your garage, your existing freestanding garage into a 1-bedroom apartment. Okay, so what this means for your investors, okay, is that you can now generate way more cash flow. You can force appreciation because once you do this legally and you do it the right way, and you get it permitted and everything like that, which is what I'm working on. You now force appreciation, okay? So all those properties that's in pencil for a burr, basically, buy, rehab, refi, rent, repeat, something like that. A lot of R's in there. Now you can do it with ADUs, Okay, so if those things were close to penciling as flips, but maybe you were $20,000, $30,000 off, as long as you find the property that can do this, it really just opens wide what you guys can do in California. Okay, so again, that's a whole presentation, guys. I'm sorry I can't cover it all right this second. And then you can refi when it's done. So it actually makes, right now, it makes the BRRRR method that's been kind of dead for a little while with interest rates and all that. It makes it possible in California. And there's a lot of those $350,000 houses in Apple Valley sitting on acre lots with detached garages or attached garages or whatever that are on city sewer, okay, in Lancaster or wherever, and you can now convert the garage into a one-bedroom apartment. I'm going to show you guys what this looks like, okay? So that is my house in Running Springs that I want to change into a triplex, okay? So what I'm going to do is this garage right here is going to get converted into a one-bedroom apartment, okay? These two windows right here, see those? That small window is this one right here. Okay, that big window is this one right here. So this view right on the right is if we walked into the front door right there and we immediately turn left. Okay, you're looking down the whole front side of this house. That right there, that room, this dining room, who uses their formal dining room? Anybody? What do you use it for? Dining? Wow, okay. Most people use it as a bedroom. Alright, so formal dining room, extra living room, okay, or family room, whatever you want to call it. That is about 350 square feet. Maybe a little bit bigger. Okay, so we're going to close that off, turn that into a studio. Okay? And you might be thinking to yourself, wow, well, are they going to live in the rest of the house? Yeah, the rest of the house is still three bedrooms and 1,800 square feet. With a giant fireplace and a living room and its own deck. And what's cool, this garage actually has its own deck at the back of it. So that apartment's going to have its own deck. Okay? This is in Running Springs.
That's nice.
Okay, right before, on the way to Big Bear. Okay? So right now, that house, best rent, if I upgraded the finishes a little bit, best rent I could probably get would be about $2,800 a month. Okay? Yeah, for the whole house, for the whole thing. Okay? My payment, all-in payment on that house, because I got this house subject to with a 2.9% interest rate, is $2,700 by all in. Okay, taxes, insurance, it's $2,700. It is an alligator at the moment. So I am struggling to rent this place for $2,600. Okay, so it's got a small alligator to it. It means I'm losing a little bit of money. Right now, I'm losing a lot of money. I'm losing $2,600 a month, $2,700 a month. Okay, once I get it rented, I'll lose a little bit less, but I have a 2.9 interest rate. I'm capturing all the appreciation. My insurance isn't changing, or excuse me, my taxes aren't changing that much. Why? Why? You guys are looking? Okay.
Once you renovate and add those extras, so you rent.
Yep, so I will now, instead of renting out the whole place for $2,600, I'll probably rent the main house out for about $1,900 to $2,200, depending. I will rent out these this one-bedroom studio as the garage. We'll go for about $1,400, and then this studio will probably go for about $900. Okay? Now I haven't decided if I'm going to split the utilities up and do all that, so that's a different equation.
But they can actually put their own.
You can. Yep, you can have it. So but it's an extra cost in construction.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Okay, so my plan and my other properties are already utilities combined, and I deal with that currently, so it's not that big of a deal to spend another 10 grand on. But that's the plan. Okay, so now this property that I'm bleeding money on, even if it was rented, and the rent would go up a little bit, eventually I'd catch up in cash flow. This thing was probably going to take 5 years. Okay, now I can put about $110,000. I'm guessing what it's going to be. Probably about $60,000 for the garage, and even though the unit inside is smaller, we got to sound insulate it and do some stuff, so it's, it actually makes sense. We got to figure out what to do with this parking up here to make sure everybody has parking now. Okay, so $110,000, $120,000, let's call it. I got this property I paid the closing costs, so I got it for $5,000. I've been paying that payment for 3 months. If I get a renter in there for probably about $2,000 a month, I'm gonna let them live there cheap while there's construction going on. So all in, I've been in the property for about $120,000, $130,000, somewhere around there. It should cash flow at the end of this, if I get the rents that I think, I should cash flow. Instead of losing $100 a month, I'll make like $1,400 a month. Okay? And you guys can, and this is just a regular ass house. Like there's nothing special about this house. It is totally cookie cutter. It looks like every other house on the, in Running Springs that was built in 1985. Yes.
So you only cash flow that amount per month, but how much did your value increase?
Thank you. Great question. Probably, so what's great, and this is because it's so new to everybody, the banks and the feds and everybody else haven't really caught up to how ADUs work yet. So they've now been told, when they do these DSCR loans, these investor type loans, guess what comps they've been told to use?
Single family?
Use multifamily comps. Okay? So they're going and finding a triplex now instead of a single family. So boom, you just appreciate your house probably about the same, if not more, than the construction costs that you just put in. Okay? And you can do this literally, yes sir.
How many parking spaces do you have available?
I have 2 in front of the garage right here. There's 1 over here that you can't really see. And there's a giant tree in my planters right here. I'll probably delete and get 2, 4, 6 parking spots for 3 units. More than enough parking. That'll probably cost me $5,000 for some asphalt and some backfill.
At what point will the county reassess the property?
What they can't.
They can't?
So this is the other thing of Prop 13. Okay, the property gets reassessed when you sell or buy. Okay, a change of ownership. Okay, they can reassess it, but my taxes still can't go up more than 2%. Unless you got something to say about that.
Well, when you add units, they have the right.
They're not units, it's ADUs. I'm not adding multifamily.
Right?
You're not adding square footage, right?
I'm not adding square footage.
What about when you pull a permit?
I am pulling a permit, but it's existing space. I'm already paying for it. I'm not adding anything to this house. I am simply repurposing the configuration.
Rich, I have a question.
Yes.
So like in Ohio, when you pull a permit and you do construction, in Ohio, they ask you like how much are you spending like for your project. I always do very low. But like what I've noticed is that like whatever amount I put like on the when they ask you like how much are you spending or whatever, even though I do it super low, like it's like a show. I noticed that the next year like when they reassess, then they add that to the value. But I guess over here that doesn't happen at all.
I actually haven't been through this part yet, so I don't want to give you guys the wrong information. Okay, so I will say that you might want to check on this. Okay, because I haven't personally dealt with it. But as far as I've been told by the ADU people I'm working with, I am converting from existing space that I already have paid for. My house is already assessed at that improved value of that. If I put money into it, that runs into, like, I haven't sold it. I haven't transferred any rights. I haven't realized the gain. I haven't, any of that. So, and ask me again in 6 months. I'll have the answer for you. Yeah. Okay?
But for insurance purposes, would you get it assessed for insurance purposes or it's
Yeah, but that's a totally different,
That's different.
insurance is totally different than taxes.
Okay, just making
Yeah, they don't talk.
Okay.
Okay? You want the tax assessor to tell you it's worth $200,000 and you want to insure it for $5,000. Okay?
So if you convert your garage and you get it refied, does that square footage now get added to your house?
It's already existing space.
Well,
It would now be.
Good question.
Well, you're going from
Great
non-occupied
question.
space.
I don't know. Honestly, I'm not
That's
sure.
what I'm doing.
So you're technically adding square footage because you're going from non-occupiable to
Just
occupied.
living.
Fair. Fair. Again, guys, I'm not totally sure. I'll let you know in 6 months when I'm done with it. Right now, I'm fighting the county on converting an already existing ADUs that were not permitted. But I'm still arguing with them that I had paid the value. I bought that house at that price because it was like the way it was. I've already paid the tax. Whether I'm successful in that or not, I don't know. I'll let you know. Ask me again in 6 months. Okay? Last question on this.
Does it matter if the ADU is not attached?
No. No, it can be attached or detached. And these guys' interpretation that I was telling you is that one can be attached, one can be detached, one can be, the junior has to be attached. Okay, but the ADU itself, so there's 2 ADUs. There's ADU, accessory dwelling, the junior ADU. Junior ADUs have a little bit different regulations than the ADU itself. Okay, they can be smaller, they can still be connected to the main units. They can or don't have to have a kitchen, or they think they have to have an efficiency kitchen, but they don't have to have a full kitchen. Okay?
You don't know yet, is that why?
I don't know, soon I guess. So, all right, we gotta move on from ADUs, okay? Ask me after. Sorry, all right, your last one.
Is there a backyard space?
Is there backyard space? Yeah, there's a whole yard. The only thing with this though is like, you can picture this on the side of a mountain. Okay, the street's kind of coming down like this. Okay, and the house is built on the street. And as soon as the back of the house, it goes down pretty quick. So, and there's no way to get around it. I could maybe get an easement from the owner on the right. But even if I could build back there, I'm almost positive I couldn't get the drop on the sewer. Because the sewer's in the street. And if I went down, I'd have to go under somebody's house to connect. And it seems like it'd be a problem. So, all right, so yeah, lots of questions to use. But I'm telling you, the takeaway here is that these things, you can do this to almost any house. Okay? Especially if you have detached garages in the back. The main thing is you want to stay on sewer for the most part. I've been told that septics are still with the water board, so they can fight you on septics a little bit. But if you have either existing inventory that you have a single family house in, or now you can go look for these houses, you want to look for houses that are like this, okay? Big garages, big parts of the house. There's a lot of stuff they built in the last few years, that have already like a junior suite in there. Where they kind of build like a set or a split master, something with a split master that you can just close off, call it a JDU, put a thing around the back for access. This gets real, I don't want to say easy, but it's the easiest way you're going to get a triplex in California. Let's put it that way, okay? Because you can get these things at single family prices, turn them into triplexes for half the cost, and then basically get them appraised as triplexes, okay? So, recap here. We got a lot of people, okay? There's tons of jobs. There's a chronic housing shortage with high desirability. And what that means is you have consistent appreciation, okay? They're never gonna build enough houses that we have a chronic supply issue, okay? There's not enough houses. There's not enough houses out there, okay? And as much as we want to build them, we're never gonna build enough. Okay, not unless some crazy things happen that don't look like they're going to happen. Okay, so always you're going to have massive appreciation in California. Not always, but it's you can assume that you're going to have good appreciation in California because of that, because of the weather, because of the jobs, because of the $1.5 trillion in economic activity that goes through here every year. Okay, unless that earthquake happens and we fall into the Pacific, I think it's a safe thing.
We want to separate it, so it's not we're going to be floating.
Right? Right? Yeah, it's gonna be California. And the number one reason, guys, is because you live here. Don't say it's always gonna be the easiest and have the least amount of problems that you can deal with if you're there to actually keep an eye on it. Okay? So, I don't know if I convinced you, but hopefully you like California. If you don't, good luck. It's like all right. Thanks, everybody.
You got your next 2 months taken.
Any questions? I'll take 2 questions real quick if I didn't get to anybody. Yes,
You
sir.
got your next 2 months taken care of.
Is it true that it's state mandated for the ADUs and no county or city can override that?
Seems too good to be true, huh? Is that what you're asking?
It's a horrible law.
Is it true?
It is true. It is true. It's a state mandate. It came down from the state legislature. It is absolutely true. The HOAs, the local governments, the counties, they cannot say no to this. Okay? And they're that they have to come up with their own laws. If they don't come up with their own laws by a certain amount of time, they have to use the state's guidelines. Okay?
And the reason is because, like we said before, the shortage of housing is so big, and that people cannot afford to buy a house or to rent for that matter, because the rent is so big, that now they are allowing you to make those little things,
Yep.
to rent little extra money.
Please?
So, the ADU play allows
allowed you to get some cash flow.
Mhm.
If you were to obtain something through owner financing or subject to, how do you protect yourself from the original owner taking the property once you finish your ADU? Like, once you do the
They can't,
building-
so on an owner finance or a sub two, you take deed. It's a total deed trade. I own that house. I might not own the loan, but I own the house.
Okay.
Okay? Yes?
So one of the reasons why I was looking into out of state was because I saw it as a access point, an easier access point to get real estate. Like you're looking at $150,000, $200,000 house, turnkey ready. You buy it, you don't have a loan on it, and then you just can get the rent and cash flow. Versus here, you can't buy a $150,000 home turnkey ready, and and then you probably will have to get a loan, which will eat up your cash flow. So, so looking at the strategy of like having an easier access point to start your real estate journey in out of state versus here, what would you say to doing it that way?
So
So that's what that slide was trying to show you.
I wanna talk to that though, because in my farm, there are currently at least 4 houses on the MLS for under $100,000.
Yeah, so 2 points here.
That's it.
One, there is property here in California that you can do the same thing you're talking about. Okay, that you could buy cash and cash flow immediately. And it's closer to home and your appreciation is gonna be better. That does exist out there. Okay? It doesn't, and I think it's funny because people are like, yeah, but it's way out there. Well, so are the other states. Like you won't drive 3 hours to go buy a house in Needles or whatever the boonies, like San Bernardino is super far apparently. But the point stands there's houses within 4 hours that you can get to, but a lot of people, I don't mean you specifically, but a lot of people won't be willing to go make that drive, make that happen, but they'll be willing to jump on a plane and fly to Tennessee because, for reasons. I still think that if you took that $150,000 and you put it on a property here in California and you leverage that, even if you had a loan, I think that slide is what I'm trying to show you, is that after 25 years of owning that house, you will be far ahead with that house here in California than you will be in wherever you're talking about.
Aaron Mazzarello, he just celebrated selling his last property out of state.
Yep.
Like that was a big thing for him.
Yep, he said he owned an 18-unit apartment complex in Massachusetts for 17 years or something. He just sold it for the same price he bought it for, 17 years. So,
And that was a happy day.
And that was a happy day. Love it.
I will
The thing is, as a roof, a roof costs what a roof costs. And anyway, okay, so keep that in mind. Your maintenance, all that stuff, it all still goes in the equation. The thing with California is the low tax rate and the almost not guaranteed appreciation, but pretty confident in long-term appreciation. Okay, Rafa.
I was gonna say, I will add, there are other strategies to finance a home without necessarily going through financial institutions that could offset some of those costs.
Yep, absolutely. All right, last question. We're way over.
I got a question. So, would you go? So, what happens if you buy a property, but except for, say, it has an ADU already on it, but it wasn't recorded?
So, a non-conforming ADU?
Yes.
That's one of what I'm dealing with right now. So, I have 2 of those properties.
Mine cash flow
The cash flow's great. I am cash flowing $1,800 a month on my non-conforming triplex. So at one point, when they started fining me, they were threatening me, and I really considered all right, well, it's $150 a month fine. I'm cash flowing $1,650. Darn. But after a while, I started getting all those notices, and then they kept knocking on the door, bugging the tenants and stuff like that. I was like, you know what? All right, fine. So I'm working on doing that as an as-built permit, and I'm working with a consulting company to get that taken care of.
Okay.
So but on one of the properties, just so you know the difference, one of the properties, the space was permitted. Okay, so the structure itself is permitted, the whole thing. Okay, just a conversion of it was unpermitted. Okay, so that makes a big difference versus my other property where the entire addition on the back of the house and the basement in the ADU was not permitted. The whole structure wasn't permitted. So that one, you have to get engineered plans on. You have to, open up some of the footings and prove a lot more than the stuff that was already inspected and just had some plumbing rearranged. Okay, so, and I bought both of them that way. I bought them like that.
Would
So-
you go get
What's
it? Would you go get it reappraised afterwards, or
No.
would you just leave it alone?
No, hell no, because that's, for loan purposes or tax
Just
purposes?
for equity on the property.
Who cares?
Probably not. I have a 3% loan on that property. No, I'd probably find some other way to unlock that equity. Versus, which is another reason to legalize these properties is that now, yes, because when I try and borrow, I have tried to borrow money against that property, and people look at it as a single family house. And because it's not permitted, they look at it as basically being only worth $350. Okay, when it should, for all intents and purposes, be worth almost $6.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, once it's all said and done, and I'll probably get it appraised, so I can go borrow $300,000 somebody and get another one, or get 3.
There was a clause in the ADU law that said, except in situations where there was a health and safety issue,
Yep, that's true.
non-permitted ADUs were allowed to be used for 5 years, so you had plenty of time to get them straightened out.
The
Timeline on that.
what I'm finding out is you have to almost say pretty please to code enforcement, is the way they really wrote that. So, you have to write like a formal thing to code enforcement, and they can say yes or no.
I've actually used that to power.
Well, it depends on which city or which jurisdiction we're talking about. But in San Bernardino County, they kind of laughed at me. And it's the only one I dealt with. So they've been sending me $1,000 fine at the moment. I paid the first one, but I'm still going. So, anyways, guys, that's all. I'm really, really over time. Thanks for staying in here. I'd like if there's questions. I'll stick around. I am going to stick around. But in the meantime, I do have a podcast. You can check it out, firechatpodcast.com. If you want to be a guest on there, you can. I also am teaching a calculator class on March 16th. So if you want to check it out, $47. Okay? And if you want to get a hold of me, JV on things, or if you want to talk more about ADUs or taxes, whatever, give me a call. All right? Thanks, everybody.